law, but I'm just saying, if lawyers are given all the money, there are going to be issues that come along with that.
Well, this is one of the, I guess, disadvantages of going towards the end of this. Not a lot really to add, is that clearly the people in Nevada have spoken very firmly and very loudly on this issue, but I have to go along clearly with what Mike said, is that when you have a situation where you have a political race, you've also got the issue where there's going to be, you have to fundraise, and for a judge, that's a that's a problem, or it can at least create a perception of a problem. But with that said, and that is the situation that we have, and I don't. Again, I'm not advocating change, but I think that it goes that it's very important that that the public does need to be educated, that they know who they're voting for, a judge, the qualifications for the judge. It's not just who's got what yard sign out or whatever.
Let me jump in, please. So how can the people in Nevada be so right about electing their judges and so wrong about creating an appellate division?
Wait, who are you aiming at this?
That's a loaded question.
I think we still need it here, I believe, from Ms. Bailey and Mr. Kelley, correct?
Yes.
I guess I'll go next. Not a whole lot to add other than one of the experiences that all of us here were so fortunate to take part in is we got to go out and get signatures to get on this ballot. And that added a whole nother level to the election process. It was definitely very different to go out and get to meet people even being on the ballot, to get support and to talk with them about the importance of getting your judicial candidate onto the ballot. I found that when you did speak one-on-one with most people, they are interested in the process, they just need more education. So I just wanted to add that we have had the opportunity to go and personally speak to these people. With that said, though, we also need to get more people registered. It was very sad to see how many people were not registered. I know that out of the signatures I got, approximately 1/3 were not registered. So I would just piggyback on that not only do we need education, we have to get people registered and let them know they can make a difference.
Well, up until the time I got involved in this race, I'd never been involved in the political process from this side before. Sorry. And it's been a real eye-opener for me. As Sunday just mentioned, when we were out collecting signatures, I had to talk to people. I guess the most common statement I got is, well, why would I care? What are you going to do for me if you become a judge? How are you going to affect me if somebody else becomes a judge? And it is, I guess, kind of hard to take people in a 30-second spot and try to convince them that a judicial position is important. It could be important in their lives if they ever have legal problems. They get up in front of the court, that they certainly want to be in front of somebody that knows what they're doing. And I guess it's just a process where, like I say, it's been an eye-opener for me trying to educate people. I hope it works with 9 of us on the ballot. I'm afraid somebody's just going to go eeny, meeny, miny, moe. Hopefully, thank you.
We're going to need to go to, we're pretty much out of time. We're at 5 o'clock. There's a second panel. However, we used a lot of administrative stuff at the beginning here. So, yeah, so we're going to give you each a minute to make your own statement, conclude, argue, whatever you want, but your closing argument, yes.
And before we do that, I'd like to recognize some folks that got here late.
One moment. Oh, yeah.
Judge Stevens from Henderson Municipal Court, who conducts a very successful Veterans Court. Judge, would you please stand and be recognized? Judge Bill Jansen, Justice Court. He is also on the ballot, I believe. That's right now. So remember that name on the when you get to the voting booth. Assemblyman Richard MacArthur. And District Court Judge Alicia Kadish. Okay, Doctor.
All right, we have time for at least one more question, and then your closing ones. We only have 2 panels next time, so.
I have a follow-up question, actually. There's a bit of a grouping, so bear with me for a second. It was an insurance question, and it followed into the camera about the personal camera being carried. So that being connected to the dot of the issue of the union, whether or not the the law enforcement officer could carry that on him or her, could carry that on them or not. And I'm not a lawyer, but I do believe that it's been tried where there's enough cameras out there that being expected to be videotaped should be common at this point. When a law enforcement officer is in uniform, they're not just a simple citizen anymore, and there's supposed to be an expectation of a higher behavior. Okay, so okay, at what point do we hold these people at a higher standard without the union being involved?
Well,
I think you're absolutely right. Those are two absolutely separate issues. You know, having currently serving in the Air Force Reserve in the JAG Corps out here at Nellis, you know, I have tremendous respect for not only the people but what the uniform means. There's no overlap between union membership or union motivations and what and how an individual should conduct themselves under the color of law, under a badge or whatever uniform that they may be wearing. Yeah, absolutely agree.
I think the union issue is they have a contract with the county. That's what people were referring to. So there's been issues on they want things done with Metro. You go to Sheriff Gillespie, there is a contract with the county, and that's what I think they mean by contract issues. And to a higher standard, of course, we all hold them to a higher standard because, and that's the law holds them to a higher standard, as they should. If a policeman pulls you over, you pull over. I've taught my children that. We've all been taught that, you know, and I don't want to reiterate, but that new policy on use of deadly force, they're now saying, let's emphasize de-escalating the situation. Let's emphasize, you know, because people are very cognizant that you have authority under color of law, that people are very vulnerable when something happens. You need to really be the professional and de-escalate these situations so they don't become the Gibson case, so they don't become Eric Scott case, so they don't become, you know, the Trayvon, the one, I was the bathroom and the marijuana. You know which one I meant, yes.
Who's the kid in North Las Vegas?
Bailey.
No, the other kid.
Isn't there one that was just recent? I tried to find it, as a matter of fact, but I think there's, but it will help. Okay, sorry. Thanks, Nick.
I guess I have the microphone.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. I'll grab her. Actually, I think, you know, I've spoken with some officers about, you know, the tie-ins, all that. The one concern I heard most of all was the privacy issue in case they need to turn them off to go to the restroom or something like that. And so those are some things that need to be addressed. I mean, I hate to say that, but it's true. Those things need to be addressed. So I think that's mostly what I'm looking at as far as when I've heard about that. Now, the cameras in the cars, most people have been fans of with those. I don't think that they're trying to hide anything. I think, if anything, they love the fact that they exonerate them a lot of times, or it makes things simpler. Things are so much clearer when you actually get to go back and see them, and we are a technology age. And quite honestly, what they don't have on their video, someone's cell phone probably already has and is uploaded to YouTube. So I think the biggest issue is just that privacy issue that I've heard about.
Your question is twofold. My issues in reference to, I've worked with some community groups that have pushed for and gotten these new concessions, as you could call them, with Metro. The union, from a union standpoint, you want to protect your members. You don't want to expose them to something that's negative. But on the other hand, you want to be as open as possible. So my opinion of it is that a tape, you can have a tape, and a good example is Rodney King. Each person interprets what they see on that tape differently. Some people thought he was resisting, and other people thought he was being abused. So having a tape doesn't necessarily exonerate the officer or make it any clearer. Sometimes when we get into situations where we don't feel that we're getting enough information, we think that the tape will solve all our problems. It won't necessarily solve the problem, but I do think that de-escalation and taking, getting matters where you try to calm people down would be a better result.
Okay. Well, I think we'd all have to agree that the Metro officers, you know, or any police officer has an incredibly difficult job. And I think that as far as, you know, what we would see is the more that we look into this, the more that it kind of takes place out of a black box. What they do is you'd see for the vast majority of the time that these officers are acting very professionally, very reasonably. That, and I frankly think that, you know, in my opinion, anything that the public could see that would you know, that would show, and even aside from how it would be used for, you know, for litigation, for prosecution on this, I think just opening up what these men and women do every day would be, in my mind, be a good thing.
Go ahead. I was just going to say that there has to be, as soon-to-be Judge Earley said, there has to be confidence in the law. There has to be confidence in the system. If the loss of confidence in the system is gone, the system doesn't work, and especially on the justice side, that causes problems. If you lose confidence in the system, then people will have their justice one way or another, and we don't want that. We want there to be confidence, and we want, whatever it gets put in place, a system that generates and achieves that confidence that's needed.
I think the point's already been made that as long as there's politicians and unions involved trying to make contractual provisions over to who's going to wear cameras and who's not, I think it's a question that's going to be up in the air. I think if it's ever resolved where it becomes a standard thing, yeah, it may end up on America's Funniest Home Videos, but I think it's also going to be beneficial if there are some sort of issues surrounding a stop, what happened at that stop. Videotape evidence is probably the best evidence. There may be some disputes over what it all means, but I think it's still the best evidence.
Steve, we want to do one more question?
Sure.
We have a few minutes.
Actually, I have a question for the panel, if you give me a second here.
Go for it.
My question is pretty simple. It's, all you have to do is respond in the affirmative or negative, but I'd like to get this on the record for everybody who's running for this district court department.
Four. Just so everybody knows for the record. District Court 4.
4, correct. If elected to this position, would you be willing to put a placard on the door to your courtroom that says to the defendants, notify this court if you are a veteran?
Well,
starting with Lieutenant Colonel.
Yeah, let's start in a row here.
Yes, sir.
Marsha?
Yes.
Son?
Yes. Absolutely yes.
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 And the second part is, will you instruct your bailiff to talk to the individuals when they walk in the courtroom in case they didn't see that sign to notify the court if they are a veteran?
They don't always enter by the front door, though. That's the problem.
That's why the bailiff needs to talk to them too there.
It's true.
That's what, give the bailiff
I believe that could very well be taken care of by an announcement prior to Mike stepping up to the bench. Sure.
Yes, I concur, but I do think you can identify, you can advise the attorneys to ask their clients those questions as well. If you're talking about defense issues in reference to criminal issues.
I think that once you have the marshals start asking, what you'll find is people will show up in court and they will announce whether or not their client is a veteran, and they will, once that process is known, they'll go ahead and take it from there.
I think the most effective way is to do an announcement when everybody's in the courtroom before court starts. That way, if the bailiff misses somebody, or if they're the marshals now, if they miss somebody, or if someone went through another door, just do it before you start the proceedings. And then if the marshal sees somebody come in late or something, then it would be appropriate for the marshal to ask.
My short answer is yes. And just in reference to the driver's license, it's a great idea. That's obviously geared more towards first responders, police officers, and the like, who were responding. I mean, in court, we don't ask, people don't show their IDs. That
some of us have it on the license plates anyway. Disabled veterans, we have it right on the plate there.
Right. And so, like, when you come into court, it's not a common procedure to show your ID. So, so absolutely, whatever means we can get the information. Short answer is yes.
Absolutely, it would instruct the marshal to ask that question, but also I think it needs to be done, probably more effective to be done as an announcement.
Right.
I think you could just take whatever steps necessary to find out if someone is a veteran.
Right.
As you're going through the process, you're going to find out if you're missing people. It's going to become apparent fairly early on. That you can take steps at that point in time to make changes to whatever you need to do to make sure that you are making the people aware that you have these services for veterans.
And I'm glad that Judge Assad had gone ahead and introduced Judge Stevens, because if you didn't, I was going to get up and say something about Judge Stevens, but I suggest that if any of you want to know anything about veterans courts, please talk to Judge Stevens, because he oversees one of the best veterans courts here in the state, which is in Henderson. So please take the time to talk to Judge Stevens. Thank you.
And I think that brings us to a closing statement.
No, not yet. It's my turn.
Right?
Behind you.
Well, you'll have, we have to conclude, including 7 minutes of
turn your
opening
mic off.
statements
I got
within
this.
the next 9 minutes. So you got to be fast.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming here today. I'm Kerry, the Auxiliary Director for Veterans and Politics, and they always make me go last, and you'll see why in a minute. I want to remind everybody, too, we have Veterans and Politics t-shirts for sale in the back, and all proceeds go towards helping Veterans and Politics do what we do here today. None of this is free. I would like each of you to tell me in your own words exactly what the obligations and duties are of a Clark County District Court judge and how you think you can fulfill them better than anybody else. And we can start here with Mr. Mills.
You'll get about 20 seconds each.
I think the most important thing that judges can do is to be fair, to deliver justice consistently, whether it's a criminal or a civil case, to speak to truth, to make sure that the truth is ferreted out, and that the law gets applied equally.
I concur with what he has said, but also if you have a bias in reference to the issues that are before you, or one of the people, you need to recuse yourself from those issues. Just to be fair, balanced, this is not a complex civil litigation court, it's just a regular civil litigation. The complex matters go to 3 other judges, so I feel that I have the background and training to handle it. Thank you.
Just to add to what they said, I think in addition to being fair and impartial, you need a balance. You have a lot of things that you balance on a daily basis there. Constitutional rights, the obligation to obey the law, interpretation of the law. So I think in addition to that, you need to look at the balance factor.
I'll give you what I think is the primary responsibility because we have such a short time. I feel the primary responsibility of the 8th Judicial District Court is to conduct trials and do the motions so trials can be done efficiently, fairly, with impartiality, so the cases move. And I have the trial experience to do that. I have over 30 years have done trials that have lasted 4 weeks to 2 months. But that's the primary responsibility, so our courts keep moving.
Certainly everything everyone said here is absolutely true. The only, and I agree with them, the only thing that I would add is that whoever gets this position is going to be an elected official, and as the only elected official up here, I understand what kind of responsibilities that brings. You gotta get out in the community. You gotta be a good example to everyone. You gotta go out to the schools. You gotta talk to kids. Those are some of the added requirements.
Well, one thing I'd also like to add is I think that you need to go on, it's important for a judge is judicial temperament. I also think preparation and just treating everyone with dignity and respect.
Well, again, in addition to what the entire panel has said, it's a trial court. You need to make sure that you interpret the law correctly, you get the evidence correctly that goes to the jury, and keep the attorneys in control so that they make so the jury can make a correct decision on the case.
Thank you.
With that, you'll each get 1 minute. Why don't we start with Mr. Lee and Judge Lee and go that way and then come back around to the end here.
Thank you. I'm going to sound like a broken record here. I am absolutely committed to my community. I grew up here in Las Vegas. This community has opened themselves up to my family and given us the opportunity to try to succeed. I want to give back as much as I can. People ask me, well, you know, you have 2 years left in your justice court term. Why would you want to do this? Quite frankly, it is more work, probably for. I don't think it's any more pay at the end of the day either. But I hope you can see the value in my motivation there, that you've got a government worker who actually wants to do more work for the same amount of pay, and that my motivations are genuine because of that. Luckily, after getting on the bench, finally my career was able to open up where I was able to devote more time to the military, to my military service as well. I just want to be a good example to my kids, and hopefully in doing that, be a good example to the community. Thank you.
I am certain it is less pay. But that's not what this is about. Like I said, I wouldn't be up here and I wouldn't be participating in all these things that I've been doing, including petitioning to get my name on the ballot if it was just about money, and that's not what it's about.
Somebody closer to your mouth, please.
Is this better? Oh, okay. What I'm saying is, as I said, I've in the last 27 years, I have been intimately involved with the trial process, whether as a short trial judge presiding over jury trials, or other parts in the mediation arbitration process. I've tried, like I said, I've tried cases representing plaintiffs, representing defendants in this. I do have a great deal of trial experience. I'm actively in trial experience, and one thing I think is very important for a district court judge with the caseloads that the district court judges have here is a work ethic. And as I said, I've tried 5 cases since the day after President's Day. I think I think that speaks for itself as far as an ability or willingness to work.
Well, as I mentioned at the get-go on this, I've been in Las Vegas for 50 years. Las Vegas has been good to me. I've been a trial lawyer for 25 years, and I've now been a judge for 5 years. I'm seeking this judgeship because I think being a judge is the best job in the world. At least in my opinion it is. It's a position where you can get intellectually satisfied, I guess. You're dealing with the law, you're dealing with some fairly intricate issues. And you're also dealing with interesting people on a daily basis. You're dealing with the litigants, you're dealing with the attorneys. Nothing is ever the same, and it's certainly not boring. A work ethic is certainly important. In my court right now, in traffic court, we're doing 300 to 500 traffic tickets a day. I think that certainly demonstrates a work ethic that we're doing that 5 days a week. The reason that I would like this job, like I say, is I just think it's the best job in the world. Thank you.
I love living here in Las Vegas. I'm a resident of North Las Vegas. My kids have grown up here. I have kids that have graduated from high school, from Clark, from Chaparral High School, because of the choice in education, and that's one of the things that I like about living here. My wife and I have really enjoyed this opportunity to be here, and it's our home. We enjoy it a lot. That's the reason why I'm serving. I'm serving because I know that this is a city that has families in it, and families are important to this town. The kids, the people, all of that is very, very important, and I want to be of service. Having served 22 years in the military, I know how important that is, and I'm just stepping it up one notch. Moving from a part-time judge to a full-time judge should be an easy transition. I've tried a lot of cases, seen a lot inside the courtroom, both from on the bench and at the bar, and I would like to continue that service. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Marsha Kimble-Simms. My family has lived in Las Vegas for many years, and that's one of the reasons my husband and I retired here. My uncle, who we came here for, is now deceased. But I've been coming here all my life, and it's a part of serving the community. I'm a member of the Nevada Law Foundation, and we try to make sure we raise funds. If you've ever gotten a letter, IOTA letter from us, we use that money to provide access to justice for basically every person in the community. I've also worked in my community in North Las Vegas getting a crosswalk where 3 little girls died. So my children were born here. They have benefited from being here as well as myself. This community has been good to me. I've had a private law practice, and it is, for me, being a judge is providing a community service and getting to know the people, as well as being fair and balanced and giving people their fair day in court, listening to what they have to say.
I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here today. I would just say that being not having the opportunity to grow up here and moving here voluntarily, I think Las Vegas and Clark County is a wonderful place. We're amazingly diverse, not just in ethnicity, but also in cultures, and from people being from all over the place, all over this country, all over this world. And we bring a special flavor to Las Vegas that most places don't have an opportunity to do. With that, I'm raising my 2 children here. I'm very proud of our community. We're active in our community. I think there's no doubt that we're all here because we wish to serve our community. But I would disagree with one thing that Mr. Kelley said, and I think being a pro tem judge, at least from what I've sat with, is one of the hardest things in the world to do. To look at someone and tell them that they're going away for a period of time, or to tell someone that you did not enter judgment in their favor is very difficult, and it is not something that most people seek. I believe I have the experience and the temperament in order to do that, and I would welcome the opportunity. Thank you.
The reason I went for the appointment, and the reason I am working so hard to be elected is for personal reasons. It's a stage of my career when I can give back to Clark County. I've been able for 30 years to have a wonderful, wonderful experience. I've been able to raise my children. This is my chance to give back to the 8th Judicial District Court that allowed me to have a wonderful trial experience. What I was thinking about, what am I going to do for closing argument? And what I did is I found a letter that retired judge, senior judge Stuart Bell wrote for me. He gave me the other day. It went to the Nevada Commission on Judicial Selection. If anybody knows Judge Bell, he is phenomenal. If I could be Judge Bell, I would thank the Lord. I want to read what he wrote about me because he does a better closing argument than I do. Rarely will it be the case that the Commission will have for consideration an applicant for judicial appointment that will take the bench with a nearly zero learning curve, but Kerry Earley is such an applicant. Kerry Earley is one of the finest and most experienced trial lawyers in the state of Nevada, with over 30 years of outstanding courtroom trial experience. I have personally litigated cases against Kerry as a trial lawyer, as well as interacting with her as a former district judge. I know
social media is huge nowadays, and it's very crucial, especially for y'all's race. Feel free to, if you get the endorsement or not, you are allowed to share this video on your Facebook page and add whatever you want, okay, to whatever comments you made. What you also can do now with YouTube is tag your YouTube to our YouTube. So if you have additional comments that you don't want written, that you actually want yourself videotaped in a professional setting, and then tag this video into your video, you can go ahead and do that too.
Yeah, we appreciate all the candidates and the time that they have devoted to being here. You put your life in a fishbowl, you give up your privacy, it's tough on your families, you're going to be campaigning vigorously, and we do appreciate anyone that puts out that part of their life for public service. So thank you very much for being here.